Whether you're just delving into the world of voiceover,
You're an established voice actor,
or you just want to listen to some unfiltered thoughts and opinions about the industry.
then this podcast is for you.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Jen. And this is the Off Air Podcast.
Hello. We are back once again. Welcome to episode 5 of the Off Air Voiceover
Podcast. You always introduce it, so I'm jumping in.
Do you remember in the first round we were doing it, we have to say it at the same time. Now,
I still stand by that. I want to do that still. We never managed it.
Yeah. So welcome to episode 5. So we're sort of just over the halfway point now for the 8 episodes we're going to do for this season. So far, it's been great. It's been really the change of format seems to be quite well received. You know, like just having a straight run through some of the guests we've had on.
Yeah,
you know, the YouTube
guests.
videos as well, like, you know, filming everything. So just it's good to try new things. Obviously, it is quite a new space for us, but. Yeah, and today I've decided, so here we go. I feel like it's like, where's Wally? Like every episode, like I'm somewhere different.
That's how I think about it. Where's Wally going to be this time?
I've just got quite a few recordings to do today, so rather than faff about taking the
Yeah.
computer out and going into the other room, I thought I'm just going to, because I'm stood up, I feel like I don't know what to do myself, so
Yeah.
for those that watch,
I
you'll see me
actually,
shifting
since
around a
we've
lot.
started doing it on YouTube and I've seen some of the recordings back, I realise how much I move. Like, I'd be
I
telling myself to
fidget
stand
like
the
mad.
fucking still. So
Yeah.
apologies to anyone, I can't do that. But yeah, maybe
fidget
I'll get
like
a chair
mad.
in here so we can be all like cash and chatting. And
Yeah, well, I was thinking, so what I've done is, so I'm waiting for my visa to come through, so what I've done is I've got this vocal booth to go re-established, which is
Yeah.
great. These things are fantastic if you need like a pop-up thing.
Yeah.
So I just need to get a bit of a stool or something, you know. So
Yeah,
I, can,
I know. I'd like a stool, but then don't you not feel like you're in a boy band and you have to do like a solo?
like the Westlife bit, and then it's like it's not working.
Yeah.
And when it gets to that bit where it changes,
and we
it's
do
like,
like
it's time to
swaying
stand up.
and like, yeah.
No, but I
that's
find
good.
though, because I find for me standing up
Outtakes.
makes me feel a bit more free. It opens your diaphragm. But then was it Anthony said when he was on that actually there was a thing about when you sit down.
Yeah, well, Nick's just done some things. Well, Nick Redman talked about the fact that it doesn't squish up your organs, which is the maybe not organs, but
surprised, I got my facts wrong.
Yeah, when I'm voicing, I prefer to stand. But I guess for this, it's just literally us having a chat, isn't it? Maybe it'd be good to try.
Yeah,
We're
I am gonna
trying
try and
things, aren't we? I'll get a stool for next time. We'll see.
I am going to try and get a stool, yeah. But I haven't got a great deal of space, so I'm just sort of making the most
I
of it.
absolutely love the fact that anybody came for some content. We're talking about stools.
Well, this is how you define being, I don't know, just honest and raw. Like, there's
But
no
I
polish.
do think it's interesting. Like, and I think people ask, like, you know, what do you do when you're voicing? Do you sit down? Do you stand up? Do you do a mixture?
Yeah.
Like, I do think it's genuinely interesting. But maybe
Yeah.
not us and recording the podcast.
Yeah, I guess so. So how's your week been so far? What is it? Today's Thursday, isn't it? Yeah.
Today is Thursday. It's got better, but I am so affected by the season change. I think like I'm really struggling with how dark it is. Like you open your curtains and it's
Oh,
no
really?
lighter. Yeah, I've got one of those fancy alarm clocks so that like gradually gets light to wake you up. So I just need to start using that again because I do get quite affected by it. And the
Do you think-
pissing rain has not helped.
Oh my God, that downfall we had 2 days ago.
It's
It
just
was
been literally relentless, like flooding and everything. So, but the sun has come out yesterday, and I felt my mood lift, and I had an amazing job this morning with a lovely client, so that's put me in a good mood as well. I'm very fickle. What can I say?
Yeah, there's they call it, it's called SAD, isn't it? Like the seasonal something disorder.
Seasonal affective disorder. Yeah.
I literally thought somebody just made that up, and it was like, you know, everyone there's like a name for
Sadly
everything
not.
now. Do you know?
Yeah.
I thought it was a
No,
joke.
that's been around a long time. Yes,
okay.
it's no jokes. But I think it's kind of changing, well, if you can, changing mindset as well for me, this is. Not somebody who's suffering very severely with it, but because this is the UK, isn't it? This is the next like 6 months of like darkness and rain, and it's just switching. Sorry, fuck off with your France. God. Is it much better there?
Oh my! I tell you what. Listen, I'm not gonna. I always say this, right? Home is always home. But it's
Yeah.
not until you experience living somewhere else that you appreciate what you could potentially be missing.
Yeah.
So
and
it's
is
like
the weather a lot better there in France?
Yeah,
'Cause
the
it's-
climate is. Yeah, it is. The climate is definitely nicer. Like
Yeah. Although you've not done a winter yet, have you? A full winter?
no, but they do have obviously. You know, obviously it's cold, but it's not.
Yeah.
I think just
Not as
here we have
grey.
it like seriously cold.
Oh, it's
but
constant.
like it just feels bit brighter over there. So
It's so I used to live in New Zealand for about 5 years, and they have, it's kind of, obviously it's flipped the seasons, but they have about, I don't know, 7 or 8 months of sun. So now it's like if it's a sunny day, everyone's like, I have to get outside, we have to have a barbecue, we have to make the most of this.
Yeah.
And there's quite a lot of pressure to like enjoy yourself and be living your best life. Whereas over there it's like, oh no, it'll be sunny tomorrow, it's okay, can take the pressure off a little bit. And people walk around a lot more erect, which I know you're going to laugh at, but like
of all the words you could have picked,
I know I couldn't think of a different one, but there we go. I'm standing by it. I can't even take myself seriously now. It's much nicer. And I got
New Zealanders walking around with a hard on, like everyone's erect over here. So,
when I got back to Manchester, it was literally like people were walking bowed. But you know what I mean, when like they're bent over, because I don't think it's literally the weather, it's like crushing people's spirits, and it was a huge difference. Anyway, that's a bit miserable, but anyway, the sun's out and I'm feeling good.
Just to wrap that up, I will say actually, like, so with the climate being nicer over there all the time, I generally felt like I had a bit of a spring in my step every day because it was just pleasant outside.
Yeah, although you are living with a reasonably new girlfriend as well, I would hope you'd have a pretty good spring in your step anyway. It's
a year now.
Is it a year? Wow.
Yeah.
That's nice. She's a keeper.
So, yeah. So, anyway, right, waffle over. So this
waffle over. Waffle just be given, baby.
People will be like, can you please start putting time codes and chapters in so we can just skip this shite.
But you know what? We wanted this to be like a water cooler moment. You and I would definitely be discussing this at a water cooler. So welcome to our brains.
Yeah. So no, it's been all right. I've booked a job yesterday, which I am unbelievably excited about. So me and my sports promos.
Yeah.
So I've got one. I think by the time this comes out, this episode, I think the promo will have already been out because it's for the rugby league, and it's for the final that's being held at Old Trafford on the 12th of October. So it's going to go out on Sky Sports, and I think there's a possibility it might be played out around Old Trafford because it's one of those promos.
My God!
Well, I don't know for certain because in boxing, crossed. Like in the headline boxing fight, they have that promo film that plays for the boxer.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
Oh my God!
It's one of those types. It's cool, proper. Mikey. It's going straight in with the Batman voice, and they heard my Formula One stuff, and one of my massive inspirations, Sean Dooley, he did it a couple of years ago.
Sean.
So for me to then do a project that he once did, and he is one of my inspirations, just feels I feel so privileged. So
I can't wait to hear that. It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, looking forward to. I was just like, I can't wait. Even the first word, what is it? History. Yeah, so straight away was history. And bang, off I go. I just cannot wait.
Are you protecting your voice better now? Because you did have some issues with the Batman voice.
No, because what happened was when I started doing the gravelly. I'm not overly. When I joke Batman because everyone sort of says a gravelly voice is like Batman, but it's not actually overly forced. I just dropped into a lower range, but because I spent so much time doing it, I actually started to damage my cords a little bit.
Yeah.
So I only have to drop it a tiny bit, and I'm almost there. So it's dead.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
I think the Batman voice is way overpronounced. It's ridiculous. Christian?
Sorry, Christian. What you said though about like when this airs, it'll maybe out, whatever. Can I just apologise now to anybody who listens to the podcast because I am shit when it comes to dates. So many times I've been get your Vox thing in. I'm like, I listened to part of it. What am I talking about? I cannot keep dates in my head. So please. If you listen to the podcast, don't take anything that I say about dates as accurate. It's just not.
Because on the last one, I was like, we said, you've got the social tomorrow. We went, yeah, and give us a shout if you go. And I was like, this will be out once the whole thing's over. So.
Oh, my God, I'm so sorry. I just can't keep it in my head. But I am, when this airs, Vox won't have happened. And I feel like there's a lot of Vox conversations as well around the moment, which is quite nice. I'm enjoying those. Often about masks.
About masks. I'm still, Phantom of the Opera star. That's the plan.
Yeah.
Right, should we get on with it?
Oh, okay, let's do it.
If you're still here, I promise you we are going to talk about stuff.
So it's slightly related to voiceover. And freelancing in general.
Yeah, so in episode 2, we had a bit of a fun list thing that I came across, and I thought that the list was interesting stuff to talk about because it's relatable. So I did another one. And this one is all about effectively being freelance.
Mm-hmm.
The challenges of being freelance, the ups, the downs. And the good thing is, obviously, we'll talk about it from our voiceover perspective, but I suppose, really, freelance in all forms, there's a lot of relatability to it.
Oh, yeah. And it'd be really interesting to hear other people's opinions, actually. Like, if you do know any of the freelancers, share it with them and see what they think, see whether they can add anything to the list.
Yeah, because I think we've all got we've all got our way of doing things that works for us. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Or
we all
we're
have
learning those. We're finding those out, aren't we, as you go?
Right. So I just thought it'd make just an interesting topic to sort of see how you and I differ in the way, because I think the beauty of this is that you and I don't agree on a lot of things, but we don't certainly don't argue about it. But it's good to have different perspective. You know what I mean?
Yes, it is.
So I figured that. So I've got well, there's 5, but we've condensed it down to 3, haven't we? So we think there's 3 sort of topics within being a freelance. We thought we'd just sort of discuss and
this isn't an
sort of
exhaustive
share
list. Obviously, this is
no,
just
not
some talking
at all.
points for us now.
These are just like sort of the key ones. So to kick things off, regards to being freelance and the challenges, etc. Finding consistent work in a competitive market, stroke building a network of clients or repeat clients.
Yeah.
So why I find this one quite interesting is, so what I've obviously done over the course of summer, been doing a lot of work on my website and everything, something I neglected a long time ago. And I always knew I need to have a bit of a website presence, but actually optimizing it, whatever, I've always neglected it. And on the VO Social podcast, the one they did about with Rob and Helen, that they did about money, which is a great episode, by the way. It's really fascinating. Towards the end of that episode, Helen makes an interesting point about saying that whilst SEO management on your website and whatever is important, do not negate the importance of getting that marketing done. Yeah. And I've said in the past that is one of my biggest flaws. Like,
I have to say, this point feels like a personal attack on me because I'm so shit right now. I don't have any consistency. I am not building a reliable network. I mean, I've got some clients who I love and they do come back, which is fantastic. But it's not enough. I need to actually be getting more. So for this one, definitely hits me hard. Yeah,
because I think the thing is, it's like for when I started doing all this, I just relied heavily on the P2Ps, but it worked for me. Mm-hmm. And then I'd do marketing on the side. Really, it should have been the other way around, but it was working. So if it broke, don't fix it. But
and I
really
think when you joined, P2Ps weren't. They're getting competitive, but they're not as much as they are now. Or as oversubscribed. And I do, even the time that I've been on them, I feel like the quality of the work that's on there has gone down.
Right, massively, and definitely that now makes up part of the smallest pool of where my work comes from. I think agent is the smallest, like next to nothing.
Cherry on top.
And then P2Ps were probably not too far behind that. So now obviously I've tried to switch things and try and do the marketing. The thing is, when you freelance, no one's going to do it for you. Like, you have to put that time in.
And that's the thing. And you literally get out what you put in. That is 100% the case. And even the people who voiceover artists who are working consistently all the time, like multiple jobs per day, are still marketing. They've got that because they've marketed themselves. They've put the hard work in to market themselves consistently and repeatedly and for years and years. Well, so what do you do then? Sorry, Mikey, carry on.
No, it's okay. So I saw a thing the other day. Because people tend to ask, like, what's the numbers when you're doing marketing stuff? And I saw this really interesting stat on Mark Scott's VOpreneur Facebook page.
Oh, yeah.
This lady said she did 76 emails.
Yes.
Out of those 76 emails, she got 5 potential prospects and she booked 1 medical job.
Right.
And she was asking, is that a good stat? Because I don't know, and I found it really fascinating. And people come back and say that's actually really good. So it gives you like a baseline. But realistically,
that seems bleak though, doesn't it?
And she said, that was it. And she said she did that over 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So it gives you a good baseline to think, okay, so if I want to try and book work via doing marketing via email, obviously some people have more success.
Yeah, I think mine's rate slightly higher, or was when I was actually doing it consistently, but still.
Yeah. But I think it's quite an interesting stat, because I think ideally what you probably need to do is, I think you need to this is how I've formulated it now. 100 emails. Give yourself a target as to how quick you can do them. I think don't expect anything. I'm not expecting much if I do less than 100. So if you do 50, there's no point going off 750. I've got nothing.
I guess you've got to work out your numbers, haven't you? And I think this is where a lot of the voiceovers who have been doing this a long time, they use the analytics, don't they? And Mark talks about this, Mark Scott. So looking at your numbers, like what is your rate? So how many emails are you sending out, and how many people are getting back to you, and then how many are actually booking? So looking at that, I think then, as you said, then be like, okay, so I know the lady's is 76 for her booking rate. She's got to send out 76 to get a job on average. So it's having that in your mind, knowing that, like you say.
But it's just doing it. I think that's the problem, innit? It's staying consistent. Obviously, when you are, I think with voiceover, I think most VOs will contest that the actual voice inside of the job is probably the least amount of time. A lot of it is doing the marketing, maybe auditioning, but actually spent recording. Yeah. I don't think many VOs literally wake up and start recording 9 till 5 or whatever.
No. Unless
So there
they're
is a
doing
lot.
audiobooks.
Yeah, this is all. Yeah, but so there's definitely time to do it. The other one that I've started to leverage recently, and I've talked about this in the past, is LinkedIn.
Yes.
And I am all in on LinkedIn now.
The
I
way
feel
you said that was
I
like a dirty word.
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
I said, like the old M&S adverts. This is not just any social media.
Yeah. Still, they hold up. Apart from
yeah.
what's his chops, who started doing it. Tom Kerridge is doing. He must have done like a takeover. Have you heard it? So they've still got the Marks and Spencer's music in the background, but instead of like the sexy audio woman, who I don't know her name, he's doing it, and you're like, oh, it just doesn't hit the same.
Is it not? Yeah.
No, it doesn't. It's just him, and like he's people know him and know his voice, so that's why they use him. But
Yeah.
it's interesting.
But yeah, so definitely being part of freelance is the absolute necessity to spread yourself far and wide. So I've started leveraging LinkedIn more now and communicating
Good for you.
on there, and I've already had work off it. I've built some great connections off it, and I do feel like, again, it just comes back to that idea of because I'm terrible for it, but I can say for sure, just doing it will inevitably bring the results in.
It will, and I think I remember Carla talking about this quite a lot when she came on last season, and she's used it consistently. And I've not booked much through, but I think I've got a couple of direct clients through there. Like one with them was Krispy Kreme, and that was amazing. Like that I wouldn't have got had it not been for LinkedIn. So it's definitely worth it if you put the effort in, I think.
Yeah, and I think the way the point is mentioned about in a competitive market, because that is so true.
Yes, so true.
Like nowadays, you're up against more, aren't you? Like you've got emerging technology. Like I know we bang on about AI all the time, but it is relevant. You're up against people who are now looking to try use AI instead. So you may start getting offered.
Yeah.
Well, this hasn't happened to me, but I'm sure the people have experienced it. That they say, well, AI is a lot cheaper, but what you're charging is too much if you bring your rate down. I'm sure people have had instances.
I'm sure
like
they
that.
have. But like when I think was it Vox last year, even when they did the pivot to being about human voices, and there was a lot of conversations about AI, obviously, and a lot of voiceover artists were talking about having had lost jobs to AI around e-learning particularly, and that I've not had that yet, but it's it just seemed like it is happening a lot. So it is like, okay, so now we just need to up our game again.
Yeah, well, it is out there, but people are also coming back, and I saw a really interesting LinkedIn post the other day, and it's today actually, and she said that as some people start, she was a copywriter, she's not a voiceover, but still relevant, and she says as people start to get fed up with bland AI material, the fact that you can provide something real and refreshing, the need for that is expected to go up.
Yeah.
So you just got to weather the storm a little bit, you know what I mean? But again, trying to get yourself out there with other these things, to deal with, because it is competitive, and obviously the slurge of new people coming into VO.
Slurge, that's such an evocative word.
Actors.
Don't say actors like it's a bad word, okay? I take offence to that as well.
No, so
we're just coming in, taking all the jobs.
No, because Kelly talked about it as well. She was saying that she's a lot of actors are trying to try and do VO as well.
Yeah.
It's just another thing, and I'm not trying to be all doom and gloom, because I think all you can ever really do is just work on you being the best version of you. There's always going to be competition. The important thing that you have to do is just try and be better than it.
Yeah, and
there's no point getting overwhelmed by it. Just okay, well it is there, so that means I got to work
and
hard
I think it's very easy to, and like I certainly find it quite overwhelming sometimes, but it is just doing it, and I'm in a bit of like a rut at the moment in terms of not doing it, and I know that I'll get over it because I have to, but so in terms of like that's emailing, so direct emailing, I found that really helped me build my client list, and then have neglected it, so I need to get back into it. But I think that's a really positive way. You said LinkedIn again consistently, and I think social media I can find again overwhelming, because you could do it forever and ever and ever. And I think what some people do very well is actually like, okay, so these are the clients I want to target. These are the ones I'm going to earmark. I'm going to flag them, or whatever you do, put the bell on or something, so I get the notifications, and I'm just focusing down on them. I'm like blocking out time to do that. Otherwise you can spend hours and lose hours just scrolling, and if you connected with other voiceover artists, which I don't do as much on LinkedIn, I try not to, you're just you're seeing all theirs, which is lovely, but they're not going to give me work.
Well, I will share something actually, and this isn't particularly, it's not rocket science anyway, but I'll share it regardless. Just it's another success story, I suppose. So, one of the problems I had with LinkedIn all the time, I felt like it was quite disingenuous. So if we laughed about this in an older episode.
Yeah.
People who would potentially book you for work if you're liking or commenting their stuff, and they see a barrage of voiceovers on there. I was like, it looks disingenuous, in my opinion. So I didn't really want to play that game. But ultimately, people on LinkedIn are there to make connections.
Yes.
Whichever side you're on, you still want to book work.
Yeah.
So all I've done is, for the people that I want to sort of get to know better or whatever, I've reached out to them off the back of a post if it related to me, and I went in with just that angle. So rather be like, because I think some people are like, hey, you make videos, I do voiceovers, let's work. It's like, who the fuck are you? Like, do you know what I mean? There's no connection there. There's nothing to like sort of build off. So anyway, all I did was I just contacted some people and off a post said, I thought I'd just drop you a follow or a connection request, and they've accepted it, whatever. So I just saw your post, I really related to it, whatever. And lo and behold, like there's a relatability there, and it's led to things. It's led to more conversations.
When it's genuine, it's lovely, and it does feel like it's just
been
people,
authentic.
isn't it? It still makes me cringe where there's people that you really want to work with or connect with, and then you comment on their post and you see like the other 10 voiceover artists, and you're like, oh, I just find it like, ugh.
Yeah,
but there we go.
If people talk to me in corporate speak, I switch off straight away because I know it's not real. I know that when I feel like I'm just being sales pitched, because I feel like when the door's shut and they're living their normal life, that person who's talking to me now in corporate speak, that person's not there anymore. Yeah. I want to know the other version. I want to know the real version, because that's who I'm going to relate to, not this person who's telling me what I want to hear so I can buy off them. Yeah, that's not authentic to me. And I think when you reach out to people on LinkedIn, yes, they're human beings and they're professionals. Sorry, yes, they're professionals, but they are human beings. And I think for me, the angle was just if there was a post that they had and it was genuine and I related to it, that was my sort of way to say, oh, well, this is why I sent you a connection request. No mention of work, no mention of can I send you this. just that was my in. Yeah. And because it was authentic, it's worked. So I don't know if no one's tried that, I would definitely try it. Just be your real self, you know.
Yeah.
Stay professional, you know, but this is what has worked for me. So yeah, I think it's just worth sharing, because you see a lot of people. I've seen people message. I don't know how to make connections and stuff, and it's because they're trying too hard to get work. When really you just need to just focus on making an authentic reason to connect, and it'll organically go from there. You know what I mean?
I do. Yeah, it's good advice.
So that's that. So, okay, next one.
Yeah.
Next one: managing time between auditions and projects. Okay,
so this is managing your time between the fun stuff, like doing the actual voicing. Yeah. It's all the other stuff.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, really, it depends on if you've got loads of auditions coming in. The only time I find that a stress is if it's a larger project. I mean, I don't do audiobooks or anything.
Yeah.
I would probably expand on this and say it's not just about auditions and projects, because, like I said before, I think recording time actually takes up probably the least amount of time.
It's minimal.
It's all the other shit that gets thrown in as well. You know, if you've got children, if you've got, you know, some people have a part-time job, if you've got just all the marketing, a podcast, all the marketing side, that's really where it becomes difficult.
It's just like your whole life, isn't it? It's just managing
it's just
that.
You.
Yeah. And I think, so, like fitting exercise in and thinking about the weather as well, because I really love running, but as the season changed and it gets dark a lot earlier, I don't feel all that safe a lot of the time when you're going running in the dark. And so it's kind of being like, okay, so I have a small window of time, and it's just trying to fit everything in, as you say. And it's kind of methods to do that. So I know a lot of people talk about how time blocking is really beneficial for them. So that they know exactly what they are, you know, what they're doing when, and they stick to that, which I think is very impressive. And I do think that's necessary to a certain extent as well. Yeah,
because we've sort of had a conversation like that recently. We were like, after 6, no more podcast talk. Yeah. You know, it's time to switch off. And that's healthy to set those boundaries, though. I agree. But do you not find it sometimes, like with all the stuff you've got to do, it is a bit overwhelming? It's like, I have days sometimes where I beat myself up a little bit because I've not done enough marketing. Yeah. I've got auditions that, I mean, I don't get overwhelmed with auditions. There's not like hundreds a day or anything.
Can I just say, like auditions, I find this really interesting. And I don't know if it's American or pay to plays, whatever, but some people were like, oh, and I did 30 auditions in a day. And I'm like, where are you getting these
that's
from?
Got to be. That has to be mostly P2P, because
if
you signed up.
But I mean, like, think about. I'm only on voice 1, 2, 3 at the moment in terms of P2 please. P2 please.
P2 please.
That's what it feels like sometimes. It's a whole different podcast. Yeah. But there's hardly any on there. You might get a 1 or 2 a day that are fit in my category. But I guess it is mainly American, isn't it? But they're like, oh, I've done 30. And I'm like, how? And unless they've got agents in like every state or something, and, you know, across Europe.
there are some hyper successful VOs who have been doing it for a long time.
I'm not talking
who
about
do
necessarily
get,
hyper successful. These are people who are just everyday schmucks. Like
that's just got to be P2Ps. If you spread yourself wide on the P2Ps, you know, what if you got 5 or 6 good ones?
That took ages. Even if like you were like smashing it out and be like, hey, I nailed that. 5 minutes down, move on. But I cannot imagine, especially if it was like a character one, it's a video games one or animation or whatever. I cannot knock them out that fast.
No. But I find it sometimes, there are times when it can be a bit overwhelming where, because you are having to juggle absolutely everything and you need to be mindful of it. And then there's a business side to voiceover. It's not just about all the fun and games and trying to grow your business. There's the business side of it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, you know, accounting and, you know, all the stuff that goes with that.
Yeah.
And it's just...
Chasing invoices, doing invoices.
Right, oh my
SEO.
God, chasing invoices.
It's all good.
So I think managing time between... So like I've had some days... I've got this job going on at the moment where it's just small little videos, bite-sized videos, but there's quite a few every week. And sometimes they'll need them on a bit of a deadline.
Yeah.
And that can be a bit overwhelming to get that done because obviously I need to meet that deadline.
Yes.
And I get them sometimes a little bit late. But I understood that was going to happen, so that was okay. So I can't really moan about that. But then with everything else on top... there are times where I think I haven't done any marketing this week.
Yeah.
And then, because have you looked at outsourcing? Have you considered that?
I have considered it. Definitely about, 4 or 5 months ago, I was really looking into it and had a couple of conversations with people on LinkedIn about getting somebody to help me send the emails, basically, because that's where I needed support and that's where I wasn't doing it, basically. So I did get some lead generation done by somebody on Fiverr. And then considered having somebody help me send the emails out. So it's a work in progress. At the moment, I'm going to try and do it myself. But certainly lead generation, I would, again, hire somebody. But it's quality of leads and stuff. I'd need to work on that.
Because I think that's a good point. When it comes to managing time, then obviously an obvious option would be to outsource.
Yeah.
I think so. I'm not a control freak. I am very particular.
Yeah, getting someone to send your emails felt like the next level. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not sure if I trust people that much. But and also you feel a bit extravagant. Why? Because it's just me. So I was like, why do I should be able to do everything. Which is clearly a problem of mine generally.
Yeah, there is that. That's the problem. It's like you want to have full control over everything and then it's like then you're annoyed because you feel so overwhelmed.
Yeah, and then you
outsource, it's like, no one's doing it for me.
No.
It's just
it's
a circle of nonsense.
It's a difficult, circle of nonsense. I like that. That's what my life is, a circle of nonsense. But something actually, thinking about being overwhelmed, that I think Martine mentioned this to me, and it's a kind of an obvious thing, but something I wasn't doing. When you're feeling overwhelmed or you know you've got a certain amount of time, is writing lists. And I know these help me. And it's been like, okay, I'm feeling like crazy busy in my head. Write down a list of things that you have to get done within a day and like what you'd like to do. And because when you are the kind of person who wants to do more and more and more and more, so you never feel like you've done enough, actually having a list that is succinct and that is possible is very useful. Because if you think, okay, I'm going to make 3 new LinkedIn connections, I'm going to have 1 conversation with somebody, I'm going to send 4 emails, whatever it is, having that to be like, yes, I've done that, tick it off. It's very satisfying.
I guess so, yeah. And I used to have this thing in my pad where I'd be like, right, okay, so I'd number out all the things I've got to do for that day. And if I did it, obviously I'd cross it out. And what I didn't do got carried over to the next day. Yeah. And it helped me keep some sort of organised formula. Everyone will have their own way of doing it. Because I am largely quite unorganised. It's not because I'm lazy or anything. It's just the way my brain's wired. Yeah. Like I just, So I try and help myself a little bit. And then, obviously, as things get to Friday, I'm just like, how much have I carried over? Today's going to be a big day.
Yeah, or it's passing for the next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what you're saying at the start, though, like, it is all down to us. So, like, if you don't do it, it's okay, it won't happen. So, like, can you accept that these things won't happen if you don't do it? And sometimes you have to be like, you know what? I've done as much as I can this week. Things are shitty, the kids are ill, whatever. I've done as much as I can, and that's okay.
Yeah, well, I've said that before. That you can only work with like the time you're allowed. And I know we've joked about sort of burning yourself out and overburdening yourself with more projects. The jobs do need to be done and will have to be done. You've got to find a way somehow. Yeah. But at the same token, I think it's also important just to, certainly for me anyway, be like, know what time constraints you've got and just work within those. There's no point.
I think that's where time blocking is very useful, isn't it?
Yeah, there's no point beating myself up about not doing things in a time frame I haven't got. You know what I mean? So, and you know, a lot of people have, like I said, yourself included, like kids to manage and all these sorts of things. So, but I do think the outsourcing does have its merits. It's just the added expense of it as well. But yeah, I think it's just relinquishing that little bit of control and letting someone else do things. And if they send, like you said, if they send out, I know you can, obviously they'd send out on your instruction. I don't know. Again, I just feel the client probably would never know, but there's a part of me that feels, again, it's just not very authentic because I'm not doing it.
I know,
Yeah.
I struggle with that. And it's daft, really. But because then, presumably, if they send out the first email, then you do the follow-ups. Like, if they show an interest, then you can personally get back to them and be like, oh, great, you know, and start that kind of meaningful conversation. It's just that initial, you're trying to send out to a lot of people, and ideally you're personalising them all slightly. And, you know, it's massively time-consuming. But it's got to be done.
Yeah, so I do think, so definitely in terms of being freelance, managing your time is a big thing. It's not just about auditions and projects. There's way more to throw into that as well.
And not then sinking into a pit of despair and just sitting in front of Netflix, which I think is quite possible as the winter comes.
Listen, I am guilty of that. Sometimes, as I say, if I've got jobs and things that haven't been done and I don't have the time to do it, there are times where I get so overwhelmed with what needs to be done that nothing gets done. I'm sort of, you know, mentally processing the magnitude of all these things that need doing, how much time I've got to do it, or how much time I don't have to do it, and then in the end, I just sort of, I need to like really G myself up. So,
I think when people talk, I think it's when people talk about like the balance of with reward. So they'll be like, okay, so I'm going to send out 5 emails, and then I get to play my computer game for 20 minutes. Is one way of doing it. So be like, I'm going to do my task I have to do, and then I'm going to do the thing I want to do, or the other way around. So I'm going to play my computer game for half an hour, and then I'm going to send out 10 emails. But the thing is, if I do it that way around, I'll never get off my arse. So
I mean, if that was me, I'll give myself 10 minutes. I'm like, shit, it's dark outside. Like, that is...
Yeah, but you know, you can't set yourself an alarm being like, okay, so 30 minutes is gone or whatever, or you know yourself. But I think it is worth doing that. Otherwise you have to break it down, don't you, into like smaller chunks. Otherwise it is massively overwhelming.
I massively admire people who are super disciplined. Like, I like some people, they train themselves to do it. Like, I have to train myself to be disciplined. There are some people that just are wired a certain way where they're hyper organised.
Anybody's like, I mean, some people more so, but it's a learned trait, isn't it? Like habits are that you have to get into the habits as well to, you know, do and to get into them. I'm guessing you've still not read that book yet, Atomic Habits.
No. I know the general consensus.
Has it gone
of what it's
to
about.
France with you? Is it still sitting on the bedside table?
It is actually in France with me. Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Steph's already read it twice and made notes, and you're like, Mikey, do you know what time it is?
Oh, is it time?
It's time, baby. It's time for voiceover of the week. I'm going to work on this voice and get it at some point.
I love it. Okay, well, as we do each week, we take it in turns. So, Jen, this is your turn. So, who have you got?
This week, I have chosen Hannah Gardner. And Hannah has created a phenomenal voiceover performance for Oxfam, and we're going to share it, obviously. If anybody's not heard it, you'll hear it now, but I think it's phenomenal. So we'll let you listen to it first, and then we'll come back.
Sure, our jets burn as much carbon in a few hours as most of us do in a year, but that's part of the luxury, right? But while some of us live in excess, this is excess meant only for the elite. Others are paying the price and fighting back. And yet still, the luxury of a few is being allowed to fuel a crisis that affects us all.
How good is that?
It's fantastic. I know of this piece of work, and I said to you last week I found it tremendously difficult. We had a brief conversation about, you know, sort of pieces of work, and I think you picked very well. That was
I think it's such a good,
clever.
I mean, it suits her voice. I think it's a fantastic ad in general, but I think Hannah smashed it out of the park. So interestingly for this one as well, I was also shortlisted for this.
Oh.
And when I read it or heard the premise of it, I thought this is going to be an absolute smashing ad, and I just didn't nail it. And Hannah absolutely nailed it. And massive kudos to her and the whole team for creating it. I think it is really spot on, this ad, really impactful,
clever, isn't it?
Really clever, and I think she's just, her voice I think is phenomenal as well. So huge well done to Hannah.
Massive well done, Hannah. That's
really standout piece.
Yeah, that's excellent. So there you go. So the voiceover of the week this week is Hannah Gardner.
Woohoo!
Hey.
So, right, the next one that we're going to talk
Yeah.
about is one of my least favourite things to do.
Can't
So,
stand it.
negotiating rates and contracts with clients. Ugh.
Yeah.
I feel so, and
this-
I know this is daft, but I feel so fucking awkward. Every time they're like, so how much would you charge for this?
Yeah. The only reason why, right, I imagine back in the day when,
Back in the day.
late 90s, early 2000s,
Yeah.
when the voiceover industry was probably less, or there was less of a pool of VOs and the rates were
100%.
more,
Yeah.
this is what you pay.
Yeah.
I think the only reason why I'm a little bit, like, I find it the awkward chat is because so many people try to lowball you now.
Oh,
And
fuck yeah.
you obviously don't want to lose the job by
Yeah.
lowball. So a good way around that is just to say, what's your budget?
I know,
gives
but
you
they
an
never
idea.
fucking tell you, and you play that
Oh, I-
horrible. I mean, no, some do, but often you have this back and forth, and they're like, "Well, just tell us what your rates are, and we'll see." And you're like, "Just fucking tell me what your budget is." And you've got a grave for the brain open. You're looking at a rate thing, and you're like, "Well, it should be this," but I suspect you're not going to pay this.
It's because nobody wants to go first.
I
Because
know, yeah.
if they go, well, our budget is £1,000 and you were going to charge 400 quid, like nobody
Yeah.
wants to let that
Yeah.
information out there first. But
And I've definitely lost
Yeah.
work by telling them what it should be. I'm doing air quotes.
Yeah, same.
And they come back and be like, "Oh, that's way over a budget." I'm like, "Okay, well, come back and let me know what is your top end then." But then they don't. Or sometimes or you lose them. You're like, "Oh, that's annoying."
Yeah. But
Having
I
those
just find,
conversations.
yeah, and I have lost work through on the negotiating table, not because I haven't negotiated, but because I haven't had the opportunity to negotiate.
Yeah.
And this is
yeah.
one thing that bothers me a little bit because, again, you're freelance. Some people might agree with me or disagree, but the reality is, if there's a project where the fee should be 1,400 quid and they say,
Yeah.
well, we'll only give you £1,000. Now, in order to preserve the right rates, you would say, okay, no. But I'm sorry, that £1,000 is going in
Yeah.
someone's bank account.
Yeah, you need to pay your
It
bills.
may as
don't
well
you?
be
It's-
mine,
it's
and you've
very
got bills to
difficult.
pay. I think if you're turning around and saying no to £1,000 because of a 400 quid dispute, well, that's a great position to be in. But it's going to get paid to somebody, and this is a contentious issue. If it's massive stuff, like if it's £1,000 and it should be 200 quid, absolutely not. Keep it. I've done that
Yeah.
many times,
Yeah.
and I'll continue to do
And
so.
they are not a client for you. Let them walk on by.
Yeah. So those ones all day they'll get turned down. But if it's like a 400 quid chain, like, I'm not going to say no to £1,000
Yeah.
over 400
But that's if
quid
they come
dispute.
back and negotiate with you, and that's the challenge, isn't it? And what is really hilarious is it when, well, I find it hilarious, is when they often use a piece of work for multiple different things, don't they? So it might be online, there'll be some paid, they want to use it on the website, they want to have it in this events or whatever, and you're like, I have no fucking idea. So you're like, I honestly have Grade for the Brain rates card open. I'm like, okay, so this should be this, and like you're just pulling figures out your arse, and it's just so complicated sometimes. And I'm, you're like, does this sound about right? I don't know.
The good thing about the voiceover community though is it's very good in sort of helping. If you don't know a rates thing, you can go on like the British Voiceovers Facebook group, or there are others,
Yeah.
and you can just ask, and the people with a lot of experience will be able to say, yeah, this is it, and that, which is great, because you don't,
Yeah.
because that is one thing where sometimes you do feel a little bit alone, if you don't know what the rate for something is. And
Yeah.
there are things like, I mean, I never do e-learning, but I'd be like, is it 10p, is it 20p, is it 30p
Yeah.
a word, like what's the best bit? But there is support there if you need it. But in terms of actually, I always sometimes joke like this is the worst part is negotiating the fees, because a lot of people will potentially try and lowball you, and you don't want to undercut yourself, but at the same token, you don't want to scare them off. And sometimes when you present a quote, I always just wish, because here's the other thing as well. If you send a quote and then you say, and you sort of reference that, but this is negotiable, however you want to phrase it, I just feel like you're opening. Because if the quote was actually in budget, but you've given them the opportunity to say, well, actually, we'll go 200 quid less. It's like you're kind of lowballing yourself. So it's being comfortable saying this is the fee. However,
this is my rate.
But you don't want to turn away the opportunity to
I
negotiate.
know.
Because as I said, if it is £1,000 and they go, well, our budget's 800 quid, you want them to know that, well, all right, well, if that's the case, I'll still take it. I mean, it's only 200 quid, without actually lowballing yourself an extra 200 quid. You know what I mean?
And if it coming away feeling like you've done shit, which is difficult. And I think I don't just love when, and often it's direct clients, and you contact someone and they ask you what the rate is, and you tell them what the rate is, and you've done the industry standard, and they say, yep, sounds good, and you're like, oh my God, they're actually going to pay what they should pay, and I don't have to negotiate or like what. And those feel rare at the moment, but they're out there, and sometimes, or when you say like, what's your budget, and they say it's more, and you're like, actually, this is amazing. Like, I'm holding on to you.
Yeah, it is good. The only thing I found as well recently is that, and I've seen people talk about this across LinkedIn, is that there seems to be less and less of companies going via agencies now, and they're trying to negotiate directly with talent for this reason, because an agency will add an agency fee and will obviously be charging them top end rates, and a lot of independent companies are bypassing them and going straight to VO talent and just trying to organise.
It's difficult though, isn't it? Because I want agents to still have jobs, and often their wage will get taken out of, like, the cut will come out of our wage, won't it? So like, they won't charge the company on top of that. It'll just be taken, like, the 10% or whatever will be taken from ours. It depends on the agent, doesn't it? But it's very difficult. And I think I look at a contract sometimes and I'm like, I've got no fucking idea. And I'm like, okay, I should be looking for something for AI. Like, I've got no idea. And like, at those times, having an agent to run it past, because they know it's amazing, isn't it? And I imagine all of them, I'm going to say some, work extremely hard to get work for their clients as well. So
because they want to position themselves. Sorry, go on.
A place. I was just going to say, there's definitely still a place for them.
Oh yeah, 100%. And they're not going to go anywhere, because a good agent will want to position themselves as being like the gateway to the massive clients. The 5-6 figure, because they do exist. The 5-figure jobs are very, very out there. I don't know about 6 figures, but they do exist. But the 5-figure ones are way more out there in big numbers than people probably realise. They're not like once in a blue moon.
No,
but again,
they're not.
It's who you're associated and affiliated with. So agents will always want to protect themselves by that as being their thing. Obviously, what they will not want is those big, massive clients to then just go, oh, we've got our own marketing team. We'll just go find the VO ourselves.
Especially if then the VO actually then lowballs. And that's when everything gets brought down, doesn't it?
Yeah, because if you know a job coming through an agent, you are getting top whack.
Yeah, and you have to worry about it because they're sorting it, aren't they? Whereas if they came direct, you'd be like, I'd be really nervous. Sorry to interrupt you again. But like saying like the 5-figure thing, I'd be like, oh, this seems like such a lot of money, even though that's what the rate cards and stuff are telling me what it should be.
Yeah.
You'd be nervous, wouldn't you?
Well, I saw it about 2 years ago, was it? There was a job that came through. I was with a guy called Brandon Cohen, and what happened was that he sent through an audition. He wasn't the only one that had it. I think he was one of a few, but it was for either Amazon or Google Chrome. I think it was Chromebook.
Yeah.
And it was 18 grand, right? And he sent the auditions off, and the same job came through on voices.com for 1,500 quid. Now, I don't know if that's someone taking a shit ton off the top.
Fuck
or
me.
if that's the companies then saying, well, actually, we can probably post this on a public forum and charge way, way less. It was literally word for word exactly the same audition.
18 down to 1.5.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it. So it does happen.
Oh, I don't doubt it. Fucking hell, that's annoying. God, I get really annoyed because I've still got the Mandy emails, although I'm not signed up anymore. And like, I click onto them occasionally, and it'll be like 100 quid for a TV ad, and you're like, "Fuck off!"
Fuck
off, you dickhead.
Who is allowing that to be posted?
I know.
Who is allowing that?
But also, they are such cheeky fuckers because really, £100 for a television commercial.
Yeah, but the problem is, Jen, if you're brand new and you've never booked a job before, the prospect of doing a TV commercial,
I know, it's amazing, but
outweirs the 100 quid compensation you'll get. It's just the idea of being able to say, "Oh, I've got a TV commercial," and
Yeah, but it should be like thousands.
Happen.
They're missing out on thousands of pounds.
I know, right? Listen, you're talking to the converted. I completely agree. It's ridiculous, but again, they do it because they know somebody will agree to it.
They just take advantage of people. If you've not listened to the scams episode, go back and listen to that because I feel like they fit into that category as well.
Do you know what? That did really well. That actually, sorry, I just did it again. I didn't mean to stop talking over the tail end of what you're saying. Go on.
I think I was finished. I don't know what I was saying.
God, it's so hot in here. I can't catch my breath. That episode of Scams actually went down really, really well. It reached other people not relevant to voiceover and just found the whole PayPal and Apple example I gave quite eye-opening because it is very...
Good. I hope it helps people.
Yeah, if you do look at it, like absolutely analyse it, the STEM on a capital I is slightly higher than a lowercase L.
Oh, yeah.
That is, but
Yeah,
to the
I
naked
hadn't
eye,
even
you
thought
would
about
never.
that.
Yeah, but you would never notice it.
This has been really
So-
fun.
Yeah, well, I was just saying, to come off those topics, just sort of wrap it up on a different spin. What do you love about being freelance?
Well, I love the work. I love voicing. So sometimes it feels like you have to do all the other stuff to get the jobs. You know, you have to do that, and you know it's worth the payoff because like the challenge and the euphoria that you can get from doing voicing is amazing. But I don't hate marketing. I hate doing it consistently. I like the creativity of marketing.
Yeah, when you do market, the problem I've said it before, that when you do marketing, it is like a bit of a slow, treacherous, like trudging through mud. But then when you get that one hit, it's the biggest dopamine boost, and it's like, oh, keep doing it.
Yeah,
you know.
And as soon as you're sending emails, you're like, God, I fucking hate this. Is awful. Yeah. And then you get a response, you're like, oh yeah, great, we're gonna add you to the roster. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, bro.
It works.
I'm so fucking fickle, honestly. Like I'm like, yeah, sure, this is absolutely great. But yeah, just keeping that in your head when you're sending them out.
But I suppose that makes a good point, because that is kind of also the importance of being freelance, is you have to persevere when it looks like nothing is happening. And I'll tell you one thing I saw over the summer, which happened a few times. You do not know who's paying attention in the background.
No,
I think
true.
sometimes we, like, I know I say we, I'm talking about myself, we can measure the success of something by the direct feedback we get.
Yeah.
But actually, you don't know who's...
No.
I'll give you a classic example. I've got a Christmas TV commercial coming out in November, which I cannot wait to share.
Yeah.
It's like a John Lewis ad. I can't wait to share it.
It's not a John Lewis ad, though, is it?
It's not John Lewis,
But it's like a John Lewis ad. Okay.
It's like a John Lewis ad, yeah. So it has that feel to it. What happened was, I got an email out of the blue back in July, I think it was. Yeah, July. And this lady saying, oh, such and such has referred you to me. And then, as you do something like, you check straight. I was like, the name rang a bell. But I don't know if I just sort of made that up in the moment in my head. And so I went through my inbox. Never spoke to this lady before. So I was like, oh. So anyway, so I found her on Instagram. And basically said, this company's contacted me and said, you recommended me. And she says, she goes, yeah, anyway, for going to the whole thing, basically is aware of me and my work. She went, I just didn't have a project. I've not had a project to give you.
So cool.
But this company
Keep going,
work with, they have this project and I recommended you. And I was like, I've never dealt with this person before. So it just goes to show that just by doing the thing, even if you don't get the direct feedback, it's really uplifting to know that people... LinkedIn, when I first started, a guy, Jake, he DM'd me, says, I've got a radio ad here for you. Never dealt with him before. So you just don't know who is paying attention to who you are, what you're doing, the work you're providing. So you just got to do the thing.
Keep going. We can do this.
That's what I love about being freelance. I think it's the creativity to be able to, I don't know, just sort of make your own decisions. And even if
connecting with loads of different people is good as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and sometimes those, you know what? Sometimes those decisions, Jen's just typing, need to wrap up, got to go. I'm sorry. I didn't see it.
Standard Michael.
Didn't see it. I think we're wrapping up really, really quick. But yeah, so yeah, that's it. So there you go. So if you are freelance, hopefully you can relate to a lot of what we've said. And if you're about to embark on a freelance journey, there's definitely a lot of things to consider, but it's very rewarding.
Oh yeah, 100%. And just think, you might get to meet us. That's an extra bonus as well.
Please be nice.
Oh, thank you. That was really fun.
All right. Yeah, it's that is whizzed by really, really quick. So okay, well, I guess we'll leave it there then. So
see you next week.
We'll see you next week for another episode of Rambles.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
Take care. Bye.